All right, so today I'm going to give you guys just a behind the scenes look at what I've worked on just for the past 12 months. A lot of folks want me to elaborate about my concepts between long-term net worth investing and short-term net cash flow ideas. I talk about these solutions allowing you to accelerate everything you want to do, whether it be long-term net worth investments like real estate or whether it be paying off debts. If you can find a way to make another $3,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 or even $20,000, $50,000 or $100,000 each month in income and manage to keep a substantial amount of that as cash flow, as profit, then you have the ability to do everything you want to do much more quickly. And that's why I'm such a huge advocate for what we call short-term net cash flow solutions in terms of how you prioritize your attention and your focus. And the next best question that people seem to ask often is, well, like what? The truth behind that is it has to feel like a purpose to you. It has to feel energizing. You have to be enthusiastic. You have to lean into the fear that comes along with doing anything new and trying to build something big. I can't answer what's going to be best for you, but I wanted to give you at least a sampling of what I've done over the last 12 months. So exactly 1 year ago at this time, I was in a lengthy contract to purchase a retail CBD store out of Chicago. Now, I had no experience in the CBD industry. I had never run any businesses from Chicago. In fact, I had very little and mostly negative experiences in Chicago, unfortunately. And here I was stepping back into retail, which I had only worked as an employee at a very young age in college. And so here I was looking at ways of getting into that space because I saw what our cap rate looked like, and it was really pretty special. I mean, when you're down at recouping your money in 1 year, 1.5 years of opening or buying into a business, which in this case was going to cost me $180,000, then you're going to take it seriously. I traveled out there multiple times. I met the staff. I spoke with each staff member, which there were 7 or 8, for anywhere between 15 to 60 minutes over the phone just to get to know them. I invested hundreds of hours of research. I spent north of $15,000 on legal, including an operating agreement, and 4 days before we were scheduled to close, COVID locked down Denver and Chicago, 2 of the first cities that actually kind of went into that quarantine type of status, and I pulled out. It was a very difficult decision, very expensive, obviously super time consuming, and an example that while a lot of purpose and a lot of passions don't end up working out the way you want, to some people it's considered failure, but to people who are entrepreneurial, to people who understand how to grow, it's not considered failure. It is looked at as growth. So discarding that was the right decision. And looking back, in hindsight, who would want to be running a retail store anywhere at this particular stage? It's not an easy time to have a brick and mortar and have that type of overhead and staffing. So definitely a blessing in disguise. The next project that we were working on that was sort of a continuation from 2019, where we ran for 6 months, was our Airbnb business. Now, that's been a real work in progress. It takes a ton of systems, as does every business. So formatting those systems and processes so that we have various templates of interaction. We manage that property ourselves, and it's proven to be successful. Our cash on cash returns, while it was a very expensive business to get going for us because we did sort of a luxury type of experience, is still somewhere at around 25%, and we expect much bigger than that this year. So we're happy about those ROIs. However, I do believe that for that amount of money, you can do much, much better in terms of results and potential profits and cash flow and so forth. The next business that we spent a lot of time focusing on was our affiliate business. Now, this was something that we've been doing since 2009. This is where you find really extraordinary products, programs, and services of other people's visions and other people's brain power, and you're ultimately sharing those with people who might find them to be solution-based for whatever their needs are, and you're ultimately paid a portion of whatever comes in terms of gross sales. So that has actually been very successful in an area that has paid off. So right now we have 1 that didn't pay off, the CBD business. We have 2 that did, the Airbnb or short-term rental, and the affiliate business that we spent considerable amounts of time and money focusing on. The next business that I was spending a ton of time looking into this year was an RV park. Again, I'm really just getting you to take away the randomness of what it looks like to have various purposes that excite you, that aren't necessarily something that you're sophisticated about, and you go in green in and you learn from, and you bring in the mentorship, you bring in the coaches, which I've done in almost every single one of these examples. The RV park was because we started to travel in our rigs last year. We spent a lot of time in an RV, and it ultimately proved that these parks are full, that this is a new time. COVID has certainly gotten people on the road a lot more than before. Nobody's traveling internationally, so Everybody wants to see this great country, and ultimately they're using their available funds to go out and buy toys like recreational vehicles. And so this is a hot market right now. Ultimately, we've sort of found ourselves at a stale point with that. We're not really exploring it much at this particular moment, but we've spent dozens of hours already going into the numbers and really starting to unpack the business model of that. So again, lots of time committed. Potentially, eventually, it'll turn into something, and more realistically, it probably won't. And whatever enthusiasm we had is sort of diminishing, and maybe we won't get into it and we can consider those hours growth. Next, we ended up looking into a dumpster rental business. We've got land. We want to be able to look at something that can be automated fairly easily. All you have to do is drop off some pickups. You're obviously going and dumping at the local dumps, and it could be easily scalable. That is one that's still also at a stale point. However, I think it's more back burner and has a much better chance of getting off the ground at some point in the future. But we committed a ton of time, no money into that business. I've contemplated various partnerships. We've done some recruiting. We've had conversations. And so far, it, again, has sort of led us to where we're at today, but ultimately we haven't spent any money on it yet, just a bunch of time. The next business that we really started to look into is a drain scoping and jetting business. This started in literally the beginning of December. Now, I'm going to go into another video on this where I really show you a lot of the details that have taken place in just the past 2 months and how far along we've come. Spoiler alert, it's huge, and it has massive upside potential and massive, very, very conservative potential as far as returns on investment are concerned. Here's a little bit of a hint. On just a $30,000 investment that was supplied to me by a debt weapon in the form of an unsecured business line of credit, I was able to invest a $30,000 sum and expect no less than a $4,000 per month return on that investment, meaning $4,000 in total revenues that would be my share. And from there, of course, we're servicing the balancing of the debt weapon of the $30,000 that was used, which, of course, if you just do very, very basic mathematics, would be paid back in well under 10 months, which would be a $40,000 total for $4,000 per month profit margin there. So if we're able to pay that debt weapon back in, call it 8 months time, along with any of the other costs that we end up cash flowing, then those are numbers that I'm very, very happy about. If I compare that to long-term net worth investing, like buying a rental property, how much is a $40,000 or $30,000 amount that I'm using that I can borrow going to get me by way of a rental property? Not much. $150,000 purchase price leaves a $30,000 down payment, but where are you coming up with closing costs, right? And what happens if the property needs a little bit of work? And how much is going to be left over after you service the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance of that first mortgage? At best, hundreds of dollars per month, not thousands. So I'm able to go much, much further by focusing on short-term net worth or short-term net cash flow investments versus long-term net worth investments. And if I have another $4,000 per month in profit, that's the low conservative end. This has the potential of being a 7-figure business. Then I'm able to go out and buy $150,000 houses much, much easier. And that's the premise behind the wealth ladder that we talk about, is focusing on generating short-term net cash flow solutions that you can scale and end up on that third rung where you're investing into long-term net worth. I hope this video helped clarify for you how we go about looking into any opportunity. I can tell you right now that as a little boy, I never thought I would just be entering into the poop business, and here I am opening up a drain, sewer, scoping, and jetting business. Look, this is how you have to function if you want to grow, is be open-minded to reaching your destination in the most unpredictable way. We look forward to seeing you on the next video, my friends. Thank you so much for your time today. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Keep cash flowing.